Hey guys and girls, it is Anthony Kirby here, and I have put together this training video which, as the title suggests, is a complete guide to running your Facebook ads in 2019. Even if you have never ever done a Facebook ad before, or if you've done them before but your results have been less than impressive. Before we get started, I will be sharing my screen and walking you right through the setup process for Facebook advertising. But I'd recommend, based on that you save this video somewhere, because you're going to want to come back to it later and step through it as you put your ads together. And it's a great resource to use ongoing. Second thing, absolutely important that I get this out. I am not an agency. I'm not looking for more clients to join my agency. I've got plenty of clients right now. So the reason I made this video is because I get the question a lot from my own private client group about Facebook ads when I'm teaching them this stuff. And I also find it really sad that I get to speak to so many business owners who are putting out thousands of dollars to agencies each month, when the reality is, at the budget they're spending, they could probably do it themselves at a smaller sort of scale. Now, I just want to say there, if you start spending a lot of money on Facebook ads, if you've got a very complex Facebook ads machine that you wish to run, then of course an agency is a great idea to have someone manage that for you. But if you're spending, a few $1,000s a month on Facebook ads to generate leads and sales for your business, then there's no reason you can't do that on your own using the training that I'm going to share with you. As I said at the start, I am Anthony Kirby. Everyone calls me Kirby. First of all, I'm a big believer in karma. That's why I'm doing this video, because I know there's loads of people who would charge you, at least $1,000 for a video with all of this information in. In fact, I've bought courses with less information than this for more than $1,000. So I just wanted to let you know that there is absolutely no sales pitch here. This is purely just training for you, because I really, really believe in paying it forward, and I know that you'll go out to the market and do the same. Second thing about me is that I live in Brisbane. I don't know where you are in the world as you watch this. I work with small business owners every day, and I teach them really cool marketing stuff so that they can make more sales. I also work with corporates as well, but we won't go into that. I am married, I have 3 kids, and I am very, very bad at playing soccer, although I do enjoy it. So what I want to do first of all is take you through essentially the overview of a Facebook campaign. And I know that looks like there's a lot of information on this screen here, but I'm going to break it all down for you so that you know how to think about Facebook ads and how they're set up, just so it makes it much easier for you to sort of get your head around the whole concept of ads manager or business manager, which can look a bit complex when you look at it. And again, I'm going to be showing you this on my screen in a moment, but I just want to give you the overview first before we dive in. Essentially, there's 3 levels when you're looking at a Facebook advertising campaign. First of all, you have the campaign level, which is up in the top left-hand corner. Now, essentially, what you're looking at, and to break this down into real simple terms, what Facebook is asking you at campaign level is, what is your objective? I.e., what do you want to achieve from running this specific ad campaign? So let's say I'm going to use a completely random made-up example. I'm going to pretend that I have a yoga studio that I'm starting up for the purpose of this training. By the way, I do not have a yoga studio that I'm starting up, but it's purely going to be a good example because it's quite easy to set up a campaign for that sort of thing. So if my objective was that I was setting up this studio and I wanted to get more people for my studio, then my campaign objective would be chosen because of that, be chosen based on that. I'm going to take you through all of the objectives when we get to that stage of the training. Now, once I've chosen that, once I know that I want to generate leads for my business, then the next thing we have to decide is, inside the ad set, which is the next level, is who do I want to show this advert to, and how much do I want to spend, or how much am I willing or able to spend to get them to see it. Now, Facebook is an auction, or an auction, depending on where you are in the world. So essentially, if you say I want to spend $20 and your competitor says I'm willing to spend $25, Facebook is going to give the ad space, the advertising space within the platform, to your competitor, because by default they have more money to spend. So there's more than that involved with that, but at a simple term, that's essentially how an auction works. Facebook also looks at other things like relevance of your advert and how well it's put together and how many people like it and click it and share it, and there's all that magic algorithm they talk about in the background. But without getting too involved in all of that, for the purpose of this training, essentially the ad set level, the only thing you need to be worried about at ad set is who do I want to target, and Facebook has amazing targeting potential, as you will see, and how much am I willing to spend to get that person's eyeballs on my advert so that they can take action. All right. Once you've decided that, it leads you to the final level, which is the actual advert level. And the advert level is essentially what the customer or your prospect is going to see when it scrolls across their newsfeed. So as they scroll through their newsfeed or as they see your video pop up, essentially it's what are they going to see. So this is where you're going to write your headline. You're going to write what we refer to as your sales copy, which is basically just the fancy words that we write. And any images or video or what we refer to as creative, that's where you're going to set that at the ad level, okay? The whole purpose of the ad level is to get them to stop long enough that they take notice of your advert. It gets their attention. And I just want to make the super important note that you'll see at the bottom of this slide, that most times when I'm looking at someone's advert campaign, when I'm dealing with one of our private clients and they're looking at their campaigns, the reason that it's not working is generally 9 times out of 10 because the intent is to make a sale through the advert. So they're trying to do everything in one advert. So it's, it's got lots of words, the offer's really direct, the image might be really direct, and that's not what Facebook is. Facebook is a social platform first. So we have to make sure the advert starts off with that in mind, because the intent is not to get them to buy from the advert. The intent is to get them to take the next right step for them. So in the case of a yoga studio, in my imaginary yoga studio, which we'll call Kirby's Yoga World for the purpose of this exercise, I would not be saying, hey, come and join my yoga studio. I'd be making an offer for something that would lead to them finally becoming a customer, okay? So that's really, really important. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch across and share my screen. In a moment, you will see my Facebook, and we will go from there through the rest of this training. I'm going to take you through everything you need to know to set up your ads. So hang on a second and I will switch over some screens and I'll see you soon. So here we are inside of Facebook. Now, depending on whether you've used Facebook Ads Manager before or not and how you've got it set up, you might also have Business Manager set up. In any event, to access it, if you click this little down arrow, at the time of recording anyway, this is how we do it. Of course, this could change. Click that. And down here, you should have a thing that will say create ads and manage ads. All right. When you click that, that will take you to your ads manager. Or if you have not yet got a Facebook advert account, it will ask you to set up the account. So just follow the basic instructions, add a payment method, and you should be on your way. So what we're going to do first of all is I'm going to talk to you about Facebook Pixels. Now, the reason I want to talk to you about Facebook Pixels is because this is essentially how other businesses are retargeting you. So what I mean by that is if you've ever been to a website to book a holiday or to have a look at hotels or whatever it might be, clothing, and then a few minutes later you're back on Facebook and you automatically start seeing their adverts, or they start saying, hey, here's the hotel you looked at, or here's why people love Hawaii, whatever it might be. That is retargeting. So what's happening is as you hit their website, there's a small piece of tracking code that is firing off in the background, and then they're building an audience of people who have visited their website, and then they're taking a certain action based on the action that you took on their site. So what we're going to do is we're going to set that same thing up for you so that you can retarget the people who visit your website or do specific things on your website. All right. So to do this, what you're going to do once you're inside your ads manager area, there's a little menu up here in the left corner. And again, this may look slightly different on your computer because of the fact that I'm using Business Manager. When you click that, it's going to give you all of these options. It'll probably only give you 3 to start with, but then you just click this All Tools down the bottom and you'll see it opens all the way up like this. What we're looking for under Measure and Report at the top here, we're looking for pixels. All right. Now, when you click that, it should theoretically take you to a page that looks like this because you wouldn't have created one yet. If you have already created a pixel and you're watching this video, then of course you can disregard this part of the training and skip forward a little bit. But if you have not got a Facebook pixel, this is how you create it. So you're going to come in here and you're literally just going to follow the instructions. So you're going to insert your pixel name. I'd recommend making it, your business name or whatever it might be. You don't have to enter your website URL in here, but you can if you want. And then you're going to click create. All right. Now, when you do that, what's going to happen is you're going to get a installation screen that looks like this. So you can email instructions to a website developer if you have one. You can connect it to a platform like Shopify or Wix or whatever using this, or you can manually install the code yourself. Now, manually installing the code is not difficult. In fact, I'm going to show you how to do it now based on WordPress. I don't know what you're using. You might have Wix or Squarespace or Shopify or something like that. If that is the case, then of course use a partner integration because it's very simple. But I want to show you how simple it is to install it using WordPress. All right. So what you would do is you would click that middle button. You can kind of ignore this first part here. Go down to step 2, which is to copy the entire pixel code and paste it. All right. Now, when you hover over this little gobbledygook code here, you want to copy that to the clipboard. When it's copied, it'll turn green. And then you basically want to go to your WordPress site and go to plugins down here. And then you're going to search. So you're going to click on add new down there on the left-hand side. Again, your WordPress install might be slightly different to this. And up here on the right-hand side where it's got search plugins, all right, what we're going to do is we're going to type in Facebook Pixel. Now, up until recently, Facebook didn't actually have their own plugin, which blew my mind. So I used a different one. But right now, Facebook have their own official Facebook Pixel plugin. So what you do is you would click install here. And then when it installs, then you would click activate or whatever word it comes up with in WordPress language. Now, what you want to do then is you now want to make sure that the pixel is pointing to your pixel. That the plugin is pointing to your pixel. So come back down here to installed plugins once you've activated that plugin. And then you're going to find it down here. So you're just going to go down to official Facebook Pixel and you're going to click on settings. All right. Now, of course, again, I say this with a small degree of caution that you may well see something different because times change and apps change and so on. But this is roughly what you'll see. Now, you see where it's got Pixel ID. If you come back to Facebook, you see in your code here where you've got the number, kind of where my mouse is when I move it, it says 11315, blah, 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 blah. That is the Pixel ID, all right? That is what it is asking for in there. So you'll see I've already inserted the ID for my pixel for this particular website. All you need to do is put that ID in there. Now, a little hot tip here, all of that code that you've just copied, right? You might need that for different things. You might need that if you're going to have a ClickFunnels landing page or Kajabi landing page or one of those kind of content management systems or an online learning platform. You're going to want to install your pixel on those sites too, so that you can track everyone who's using your web pages, your landing pages, your offers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Even if you do events and you're using Eventbrite, Eventbrite has a section where you can install this code so that you can retarget anybody who's visited your event page if they didn't buy a ticket or take you up on your offer, okay? So I'd recommend you copy this. And what I do is I have that on a notepad. So just on a, Apple Notes or iPhone Notes or even Google Docs or something like that, just copy and paste the code into a Google document and save it. The reason for that is it's very easy to grab. So you don't have to keep coming back to Facebook, into Events Manager and looking up this pixel code. You can just have it there. You can copy and paste it as many times as you need as appropriate, okay? Now, once that's done, coming back to WordPress, click Save Changes, and that is it. Now, what we want to do though, because most people leave it there, we want to make sure it actually works. So what you're then going to want to do, if you are a Google Chrome user, click over to Google and type in Chrome Facebook Pixel Helper, okay? This is an extension, a Chrome extension, which is free, doesn't cost any money. And it just verifies that your pixel is working correctly, okay? So as an example, if I visit my website right now, which is anthonykirby.com, and you'll see this little icon up here. This is the Facebook Pixel Helper extension when it's installed. And you'll see there that there's numbers coming up in green. So if I click that, you'll see it says 1 pixel found on anthonykirby.com. And there's the ID, which is the same ID that you would have seen on my screen a moment ago. And yeah, you'll see that there's just standard event information there. So that is verifying that the Facebook pixel is installed correctly on my website. You would want to check that on any page that you've installed your pixel. So if you have a ClickFunnels landing page or a lead pages or Insta page, any of those landing page softwares, your Wix website, Squarespace, Shopify, any of that, you want to go and visit your website after installing the Google Chrome extension and test that it is working. Okay, so we know that works, so we can get rid of that now and move on to the next part of this video, which is all about creating audiences. So let me just switch screens again. And what we're going to do is we're going to come back over here to Events Manager, and I'm going to click down into this menu here. Now, there are 3 kinds of audience that you can create on Facebook or in any marketing platform for that matter, not just Facebook, because let's face it, Facebook may disappear one day. And so you want to be able to use the same sort of thought process around everything. There is a warm audience, sorry, a cold audience, first of all, and then a warm audience, and then a hot audience. And let me explain the difference between all of those. A cold audience, and again, coming back to the example of my make-believe yoga studio, Kirby's Yoga World, if I had no clients, no Facebook page, no presence, nobody knew who I was, I'd literally just moved from a different country and I wanted to start up my yoga studio, nobody would know who I was. So I would literally be going out to a cold audience, okay? Now, when you're going out to a cold audience, that is people who don't know you, but it's based, you can, in Facebook terms, you would go out and target people based on interests, all right? So let me just give you an example here. If I come into here and I come to, where am I looking here? Audience Insights, where have you gone? You have disappeared on me. All right, and then we're inside Audience Insights, and you will see here that it's going to first of all ask you which audience you want to start with. I would always just start with everyone on Facebook just because it's just much better to use that. So in the example here, if I was looking for a cold audience, so bear in mind, we can go out to Facebook and Facebook know most things about most people just because of their data. And you want to find people who are interested in yoga, then this is how we do it. So we could come into Audience Insights and we could select the country or the region. So I'd just type in Brisbane, for example, because that's where I live. And that's where I would be starting up my make-believe yoga studio. And you can see already just from that, all right, that there are 1.5 to 2 million active monthly users in Brisbane, okay? Then it gives me some breakdowns in demographic, but that's not really the bit that I'm interested in. What I'm more interested in is refining the audience further than that, because that would be what I would consider a really broad audience. So you could run an advert to a cold audience that just says, show my ad to people in Brisbane. I don't care what age they are. I don't care what religion or gender or demographic they are. I don't care whether they work or not. I don't care whether they're educated or not. That would be like the most broad advertising that you could do, which theoretically is what you're doing if you advertise on radio or television or in a newspaper, because you can't decide who you're showing that ad to. That's down to who buys the newspaper. So that's why Facebook has really gained popularity, is because it just gives you so much more refinement in your targeting and is much, much more cost effective to get in front of your ideal client. So let me give you an example here. Let's just say I wanted to reach people in Brisbane aged between 18 and 45. And I'm not really worried about gender, but if you wanted to, you could switch the gender, of course. And interest is the bit where we're looking at. Now, in here, if I type in yoga, okay, you can see there, it gives me an option: yoga, yoga pants, hatha yoga, yoga journals. And it gives me all of these options to do with yoga. Now, that would allow me now, so you can see now, 300,000 to 350,000 monthly people in Brisbane who are aged between 18 and 45 who have an interest in yoga. Now that's much more refined straight away. Now, of course, we can get more refined than that. And I would encourage you, there's a question that I'd like you to write down, which is relevant to your audience. So if you think about this ideal client that you have in mind, and of course, this may or may not apply depending on what you're selling, your ideal client, if you are thinking about something like yoga. Now, yoga is obviously quite broad still. Would somebody else other than your ideal client know what yoga is? The answer is yes. Would someone other than your ideal client know what Kundalini yoga is? Probably not. Like the average person on the street would know what yoga is. The average person on the street probably wouldn't know what Kundalini yoga is. Therefore, Kundalini yoga is more refined again than yoga. So it's diving deeper into that interest. So if I just take that out and I'm going to try that one. I don't even know how to spell it. That's terrible. There you go. Kundalini yoga. And you'll see now, look how much more refined that is. 4,000 to 4,500 people in Brisbane specifically like Kundalini yoga, aged between 18 and 45. Now, that is much more refined in terms of targeting. So if I'm going to go and make an offer on Facebook, if I'm going to go and put myself out there on Facebook to a cold audience who don't know anything about me, that would be much more refined. All right. So what you're going to do is you're going to build out interests here in Audience Insights would be my recommendation, but you could do it offline as well. And just think about this ideal client that I want to work with. Who are they? What do they already know? What have they already tried? Who else would they be interested in? And let me give you a bit of a few different ways to look at this. If you wanted to get people who are interested in private airplanes, like private aircraft, because you're a pilot, you had a plane, you wanted to charter it, etc. Now, obviously, you could type in private plane. I don't know if it will come up. No, it won't. So what I would then recommend you do is you think, well, what would someone who flies privately most likely be about? Most people who fly privately would be professionals or corporates. So what kind of things would they do? What other brands would they associate with? So you might think about, all right, well, if it was a professional, they might like Tag Heuer watches. I'm never quite sure how to say that, but so you can see we could interest target people who like Tag watches. Now, again, I know that's still quite broad, but then we could also say, all right, well, they might drink Evian water. So we could target that. They might like Louis Vuitton. So we could target that. So, they might like Polo, like whatever it is that people who would fly privately would associate with. That's how you're going to start refining your audience, by targeting based on their interests. So that's where you want to start with cold audiences. Now, the reason we installed the Facebook Pixel comes down to the next part. So when you're creating your warm audiences, and in fact, I'm going to jump into audiences and show you this. So to do this exercise, by the way, you can create your audiences by clicking on audiences, funnily enough. Who would have guessed? And then you would create your cold audiences here, and any other audiences that you want to create. So let me just show you how to do this. So if I just get to my correct account, and I'll show you what I mean. Waiting for the very fast Brisbane internet, of course. I'll probably just chop this bit out of the video. So now it's loaded. You can see here, we got the audience page. And down here, we got this blue button that says create audience. If you click on that, it gives you 3 choices. Custom audience, which is what we're going to use for our warm audiences. Lookalike audiences, which I'm going to talk to you about after that. And save audience. Now, saved audience is what you would use for cold audiences. All right. So what you're going to do is just name your audience. So in this case, I'm going to say yoga interests cold, Brisbane. Now, you could also write in there, age range, so on, so on. So, you might say 18 to 45, male, female, if you want. Now, that's just to give you a title that you can remember when you come back to looking at this later in 3 months' time. Now, we're not going to worry about custom audiences. I'm going to show you that next. So this is purely to build a cold audience inside Facebook. We're going to tag people who live in Brisbane. We're not going to tag, we're going to target, Brisbane. And then we're going to go down here. We're going to change the targeting, of course, the age. So remember I said for my make-believe, don't know what's happening with my words today, make-believe yoga studio, we're going to refine to 18 to 45. And the targeting, we're going to go yoga. And you can see in the world, there's 288 million people who like yoga. So that's quite a few. Now, what you can do, if you can't think of anything, so if I was literally stuck at, well, what else could I think of? You can click suggestions, okay? And you'll see that Facebook will give you suggestions here. Now, what I would recommend you do is group things together. until you get an audience size somewhere between sort of 500,000 and anywhere up to 7 million. But again, cold audiences, you need to trust that Facebook's going to find you some people, and you need to just give it some time to work. This is not as exact as going to people who have already taken action on your page or people who've already visited your website, of course. These are going out to complete strangers. So be mindful of that as you do this exercise. So what I would do is I would just keep adding in options. So I'd have yoga pants. Seems like a solid option. I'll just keep typing yoga until I have added all of these yoga interests. Yoga journal. And remember, at this stage, we're going out to a cold audience. So we just want to target everything that is in alignment with the thing that we are trying to do. And of course, you could separate these out into separate audiences if you wanted to, but for the purpose of this exercise, I would say group them together as a start point. Yin yoga. I've got no idea what this means, by the way. I'm not a yoga person at all. I'm about as flexible as a brick. Yoga as an exercise. So again, you can see what I'm doing here. I'm just going through and adding all of the interests that are revolving around yoga. Now, if I come back up to the audience size, you can see here my audience is around 500,000 people. So that's perfect. That's exactly what I want. So what I would do then is create that audience. And so it would save, and you should be able to see here that it has saved yoga interest, cold audience, 500,000 people. So that's perfect. Now, if I wanted to go back in and create another cold audience for something similar to that. So let's just say I wanted to go in and I knew that, so I'm going to call this one yoga associated interests, brands, for example, yoga associated brands. Whoops. And again, we're going to just target Brisbane. I really can't speak or spell today. I'm doing a great job. It's always the way when you're recording a live training, isn't it? That you literally just lose the ability to function as a human. So I still hope this is serving you. So I'm going to do things like Lululemon. There we go. Lululemon Athletica. I know that's a brand. So you can see if I click that, 45 million people like that. So that should work pretty well for us. And Lorna Jane is another brand. I have no idea what the other brands would be. I know there's a yoga place in Brisbane called Bonfire Yoga. I just don't know if it would come up. No. So there we go. So there's two clothing brands that are pretty much associated with people who do yoga. And there's 240,000 people in Brisbane aged between 18 and 45 who like those two brands. So that's a good, I know it's slightly less, but I would still use that as an audience just for the purpose of testing. It would still be enough people for Facebook to show your ad to, and you can see how you go. So I would create that audience as well. So now I've got a cold audience of 740,000 potentially. I mean, yes, there could be overlap for people in those audiences, but roughly speaking, you got at least 500,000 people that your ad has the potential to be seen by when you go and run your advert. So that's how you would do cold audience targeting. All right. Obviously, I don't know what you do. If you get stuck with any of this, by all means, reach out. Happy to help you with it. Pop a comment below the video, send me a private message on social media, wherever you're viewing this content. I'd be happy to help you and add some value to you there to help you to get your cold audiences more refined. Now, moving on to warm audiences. Let's assume now that that you have your pixel installed, you've had some traffic to your website, you've already run some ads to cold traffic, you've been posting on your Facebook page, you've got some likes on your page and so on. So you've generated some level of awareness of your brand. What we now want to do is start to target people based on the action that they took. So if someone's been to your website, I think we can both agree that it's very likely that they're more engaged than someone who's never heard of you. Therefore, when we show them an advert, they theoretically are more inclined to do something when you make them an offer. So we come up here again to create audience, same as before. We come to custom audience this time. And you'll see there's a few different options here, and I'm going to take you through some of them. So number one is pretty simple. That's website traffic. So that's people who've been to your website and the pixel has fired off when they've hit the website, and therefore Facebook has that data, and therefore you can show them an advert. All right. So if 1,000 people have visited your website, Facebook can theoretically show 1,000 people your advert, assuming that they are on Facebook, of course. That's number one. Number two is customer file. Now, this is if you already had an existing customer base. So in the example of my yoga studio, I would not have an existing customer base because I haven't got any customers. So if you, in your business, if you've got 100 or 200 or 1,000 people that you've already sold something to, you want to get all of that data out of your CRM or your MailChimp or ActiveCampaign, and you want to load it into Facebook as a customer file so that Facebook has an audience of your customers. You'll understand why in a moment when I talk about lookalike audiences. So this is kind of external stuff, okay? External customer file, external website traffic. If you've got an app, obviously you could base it on app activity. If you have a bricks and mortar store, you could base it on offline activity. Now, on Facebook, I was going to say on side of Facebook, but that's not actually English. Inside of Facebook, there is engagement that happens inside of Facebook by people. Okay, so people might watch a video, people might fill in a lead that you have, people might look at your Instagram, people might click on your event, people might look at your Facebook page or comment or share or whatever, like the post. So these are all different audiences that I'd recommend you create. So for example, I would always recommend creating a Facebook page engagement audience. So when you click on this, you will see it comes up and it says here, which page is it for? So make sure that's your page, of course. And you'll see you've got different options in this drop down. So I would recommend you create a audience of people who engaged with your page. And depending on the time frame, you can go up to 365 days. Okay. Now, my take on that is that for me personally, 365 days, if someone looked at my page 1 year ago and they haven't contacted me or they're not already in my world, I don't think they're going to remember me. That's just my own opinion. Of course, yours might be different depending on the market that you serve. So for me, I like to leave that around 90 days. All right. So sometime in the last 3 months, somebody's seen something on my page or they've engaged with the page. That's the important word in that sentence, engaged. When you click down here, you can see that you can change that to anyone who visited your page. So this is not necessarily someone who liked, shared, commented. This is just someone who clicked onto your page, had a bit of a stalk, walked away. You can click on or target people who engage with any post or ad. So you can obviously retarget people who engage with your specific advert for your cold audience. So if I had a cold audience advert for my yoga studio and I had a video saying, here's 2 yoga stretches that you absolutely must do every morning when you wake up as a content video to build awareness of my brand, then what I could do is re-engage and retarget people who engage with that specific advert, all right, or that specific post on my page. You also can, and again, I feel like I'm talking about things that are pretty self-explanatory here, but I'll do it anyway. You can create an audience of people who clicked on a call to action button. So if they click to send you a message, if they click the learn more button, whatever it might be, you can engage with people as a custom audience who have sent a message to your page. And you can also engage with people who saved your page or a post on your page. So, you know, when you see something you like, you can save it into your collection on Facebook. That would show the advert specifically to those people. So for the purpose of this training, I would recommend that you create an audience for everyone who has engaged with your page in the last 90 days. Of course, you can get more specific than that if you wish. And again, name the audience, engagement, 90 days, and then your page name. Okay. And then you click create audience, and that's going to create the audience for you. So that's basically how you would do it based on Facebook page engagement. Now, if we go back and I'll show you the other options, one of the ones that I'm really, really big on, excuse me, is this video engagement. Now, the reason I like this is because you can choose to show people based on how much of the video they watched and which video they watched. So coming back to the example of my make-believe yoga studio. Wow, I'm really struggling to speak today. It makes for a very thrilling video, doesn't it? If I'm choosing from engagement, I could say, right, I want to show this advert to people who viewed a certain percentage of the video. So let's say I did a yoga video showing the 2 basic stretches that everyone absolutely must do every morning when they wake up to make their day amazing. And that video goes for, 7 minutes. Do you think it's likely that someone who watched all 7 minutes is going to have a better understanding of who I am and may even resonate with me at a higher level because they've watched it all? So I could retarget people who've watched a certain percentage. So if someone's watched 95% of that video, I would say they're pretty highly engaged and they're ready to see an offer from me. So you can create a video audience based on how much of the video they've seen. As a recommendation, I would recommend that you make a video audience of people who've watched 3 seconds of your video and show them more videos. I would recommend that you create an audience of people who've watched at least 25% of your video and start showing them offers or longer form content, or making an offer for a webinar or an event or whatever it is that you're doing that leads to that sales conversation. And also anyone who's watched at least 75% of your video where you make a direct offer for your product or service. Okay. So I'm just going to choose 75% and I'm going to assume that I had a yoga video. And then you see here, it's got choose videos. If you click that, you can then choose which video you want people to see. Okay. So this one here has had 3,392 3-second views. So if I click that, and then I come down and click confirm, and then you'll see what it's saying here is I'm going to have an engagement audience, retargeting audience. This is based on people who watched at least 75% of this advert. All right. This is actually an advert for an event that I'm running in Brisbane. So everyone who watched that video, at least 75%, would see the next advert based on this custom audience. All right. Now, again, you get to set the time frame here. And it depends on the content, of course. But for me, I just don't think it's worth having it any longer than 90 days, because how many videos can you remember from like yesterday? Never mind 3 months ago, let alone 12 months ago. So I just think it's much safer to keep this at 90 days or less. In the case of a more specific content piece, you could even say like 7 days. What happens there is that if someone came to your page, watched your video in its entirety almost, and they didn't do anything else for like 8 days or 9 days, they're not going to be in this audience anymore because they've been excluded because they're beyond 7 days. So you just got to play around with this and pick something that works for you. And then again, name the audience. So that's all pretty self-explanatory to start with there. So that's basically there's custom audiences that I would recommend you do is based on Facebook page engagement, based on engagement with any videos on your page. And the reason I say that is because you can get very, very specific on the kinds of people who are watching this. For example, if I did again, the yoga video with the 2 basic stretches, there's a pretty good chance that someone's not going to watch that if they're not interested in A, yoga, or B, stretches. So I know that by re-engaging people who've watched that video, there's high engagement, there's high likelihood of brand association. And so it's just going to be a much better result. All right. Now, when you come to load a customer file, you can import directly from MailChimp if you're a MailChimp user. And LTV means lifetime value. So if you have specific information on your spreadsheet, on your Excel file, then you can of course include it, but I would just recommend not doing that. Now, of course, it's going to come up here and give you some sort of rules and regulations, because in case you've been living under a rock, last year, Facebook was involved in a pretty serious privacy breach or a data breach with Cambridge Analytica scandal. I think they ended up calling it in the end. And, Zucks ended up in front of the Senate talking about things about Facebook, which was hilarious, but also very important. So now, because you're importing customer information, Facebook wants to make sure that you understand where the information has come from and that you're using it in accordance with responsible use of data and making sure that you have the permission to use it. Okay. So when you accept those terms, that's what you're accepting. So we'll just do that. And what's happening here, you'll see these identifiers. So you can see at the top here where it's got number 1, prepare a file with your customer data. These are the identifiers that Facebook is using to find the people on your database. So obviously this is not some kind of magic. Basically what's happening is if we use the first identifier, which is email address, if you have an email address, which is, contact@anthonykirby.com on your database as someone who's purchased from you or someone who's inquired about a product from you or downloaded something from your website, and the same email address is being used here on Facebook, well, Facebook will match that customer based on that data. Therefore, they'll be added to your audience. Same with phone numbers, same with first name and surname. So what Facebook's doing essentially is cross-referencing the data on your customer file and seeing how many of those people it can find. Now, I just want to add something here. If you're a LinkedIn user and you're going business to business, this is a really, really big bugbear for me, you've probably experienced it, and perhaps even you might have even done it, where you go to LinkedIn and you download all of the contacts that you've made on LinkedIn, and then you add them to your email database and send them stuff. All right. I get this all the time where people send me stuff. It's completely unsolicited. You know, they add me to their SMS lists. It's really annoying. And frankly, it's pretty rude because I haven't given them permission to do that. So instead, be smart about this. That same user data that you have, the email addresses, you know, the business cards that you collect at networking events, etc., put them into a spreadsheet and upload them to Facebook as a custom audience, and then start showing people in that audience content that is relevant to them so that they start engaging with you in a different way. That way, they can then click on the advert that you show them and take the action themselves rather than you shoving it down their throat. That's just a really nice way to better use that information that you might have. Now, once you've got that file, you'll see here it's got the original data source. You have to tell Facebook where you got this information from for their purposes. And this is also to do with GDPR or whatever the hell they call it in Europe right now. So if you have European customers, this is very relevant too. So if you've got it directly from customers, of course, that's very, very simple. If you got it from partners, i.e., now you see here it says agencies or data providers. Data providers could be people that you buy a list from, okay? So you might have bought a list from a business who sell information of people who attended a home show. And you might be buying a list from them and then retargeting those people. So you just have to tell Facebook where you got it from, okay? And then when you've done that, then you upload the file here. Now, once you've done that, name it and save it. And that's pretty much it. Very, very simple. So not rocket science at all. And that would be an existing list that you have. So that could be people who have not bought from you. That could also be people who have bought from you already. All right. And the final one that I want to show you is website traffic. So you just click here. And again, you're going to say, here's the pixel. You would have named your pixel, of course. And then you'll have all website visitors in the past X amount of days. And again, you can choose the number of days. You can also refine this. You'll see people who visited specific web pages. So where this gets really interesting for me is that if you have let's say you have a blog and you have an opt-in page, and then when they go through that opt-in page and give you their information, like a contact form, for example, that it then sends them to a thank you page saying, hey, we got your inquiry. We'll be in touch with you soon. You could target people who visited a specific page on your website. So you could say, I want to show this new blog post or this new video that I've just posted to people who visited my blog because I know that they like the content. Okay. So that's a really, really good way to get really specific on your audiences. But again, giving you my recommendation, I would at least create an audience of people who visited your website in the last X amount of days, so that you're retargeting those people and keeping them warm. Bear in mind, this is for warm audiences. These are people who've already been on your website, and this is about taking them further through the buying journey with you, showing them more value, educating them more, showing them client testimonials, building trust, building credibility, building your social proof. That's what these audiences should be used for, these custom audiences, okay? So that is that one there. Now, of course, if someone has bought from you, that's what we would refer to as a hot audience, all right? So warm audience is people who have engaged and shown intent. Hot audience is people who've given you dollars already. So to create a hot audience, again, you're just going to create the customer list audience, and that could be all of your previous clients. And then therefore you could be showing them, you know, a referral program or an affiliate program, or you could even be showing them new offers or new products or services to further them in your funnel and into your buying journey. So that's really the three types of audience: cold audience and how to create those, warm audience and hot audience. And just a reminder on cold audiences, make sure you're asking the question, would the average punter know what yoga is versus would the average punter know what Kundalini yoga is? And let me give you a couple more examples of that. The average person who would know fitness might not know F45, which is a type of gym. Someone who knows small business might not necessarily, like someone who has an interest in small business or entrepreneurship, which is quite broad, might not necessarily know Xero accounting software. All right. So you can see how we can get more refined just by looking at that one question. And that should allow you to just refine those cold audiences a bit further and make sure you're not wasting money showing your adverts to people who don't necessarily need them. I would also recommend any of the interests that you come up with, keep them in a Google document. So if you're running some research, if you're doing research into audience insights, please make sure that you look at, all right, here's all of the people who like yoga, or here's all of the yoga interests: yoga, Kundalini yoga, Hatha yoga, Bikram yoga, etc., etc., etc. List them all in a Google Doc so that you can come back to them easily later on, in case you forget them, because it's nice to be able to come back to them at a later date. For warm audiences, again, remember that these audiences are always updating. So if someone falls outside of the time frame that you've applied to that audience, bear in mind that there's always new people coming to Facebook. There's always the same people who are on Facebook right now are always clicking new interests. So right now, I am probably not in a yoga audience, but if I go and visit a yoga page, that might put me in a yoga audience. So this is what happens with Facebook, because people are always taking actions. People are always clicking. And remember that this also applies to Instagram too, because Facebook owns Instagram. So this same rule applies. Whatever people are interacting with on Instagram is being fed into this data machine that Facebook uses for your targeting for your adverts. All right. Now, the final thing I want to talk about with the audiences, and this is really powerful and very, very overlooked, is the power of lookalike audiences. So let me just explain what a lookalike audience is. A lookalike audience, if you had 100 people who already purchased from you and you had created a custom audience, you could then go to Facebook and you could say, hey, I want to create a lookalike audience for people. So you would have your audience here. So let me just select, where are we? Let me just select the audience. So you'll see here, if people had, I'm just going to assume that this one here was the audience that I created for existing buyers. So I'd uploaded my client list with 100 names, numbers, email addresses, phone numbers, etc. Of 100 people who'd purchased my high ticket price product for X amount of dollars. And I want Facebook to go and find more people who share the same interests and characteristics, because there's an old saying, which is birds of a feather flock together. All right. So therefore, it makes sense that if Facebook can go and find more people like that, there's a higher likelihood that they're going to like what you do. So what you could do is create a lookalike audience. So you might have only 100 people who know you, but you can now go to Facebook who have millions of users, and you could say, hey, Facebook, I want you to find everybody in Australia, everybody in the United States, everybody in Canada who share the same characteristics as the people who have already spent that amount of money with me. Therefore, you can then create a warm audience from a lookalike audience, because remember, you're going to be engaging these people. So literally all you do is you tell it which source you want it to take it from. So your client list or a previous custom audience or people who've engaged with your page. You tell it which area. Now you can't go specific into cities. So you got to go at country level, but that's okay, because when you're in the ad level or ad set level, you can refine that down to city. Okay. So right now I'm just choosing Australia, and you'll see here that we're just going to choose the audience size that is the closest 1% of people. All right. Now you'll see down the bottom here, it says that the estimated number of people in that audience is 168,000 people. Now, I don't know what the size of that audience is that we started with, but I know it's less than that. It's probably a couple of thousand. So that is a considerable multiplier that Facebook has gone out there and found. So then you would click create audience, and that would create a lookalike of the data file that you've already provided to Facebook, or the audience that has already engaged with you or purchased from you, which is super powerful. So I would definitely recommend creating a lookalike audience based on page engagement, creating a lookalike audience based on website engagement, and creating a lookalike audience based on people who have spent money with you. All right. That is audiences all wrapped up. So now that we've done that, I hope you are keeping up. I hope that this is useful. I hope you're not too overwhelmed. Just a reminder, if you want to talk about any of this, by all means, please send me a message, comment below the video, or get in touch with me at my website, which I won't mention in case I get banned from posting this video anyway. You'll find me. You can go to Google and search for me. You'll find me. All right, so let's build a campaign now. So let me just switch over. So what I'm going to assume now is that you have now built out your cold audiences. And again, I'm just going to use the example of the yoga studio that I'm going to start in Brisbane. And we're going to go in and build a campaign. Okay. So we're going to come down here again to this drop down menu. And we're going to come across here to Ads Manager. All right. Now, I know that as I'm recording this, you're not seeing me, and I get that you're just staring at a screen that might be quite boring. I apologize for that. And I do have clothes on, I promise. So what I'll do, and again, I also want to say too, that I know there are a lot of blurred sections in here. That's just for the privacy of myself and my clients that I work with. Let me just get rid of that pop up there. Okay, so here is the Ads Manager. Let me just switch over to a different account here because it's coming up with a new tab there that I have never seen before. It's always the way, isn't it? All right, so Facebook have just added some new things, which is always nice as you're recording. Anyway, so here's basically what we're looking at. Let me see if I can just make this a little wider. Yep, there we go. So this new opportunities tab, I've got no idea what that's referring to yet. I haven't had a chance to read it. So here's across the top what I was talking about earlier, campaigns. So we know what that is. So campaigns is obviously relating to what the objective is that you have for your advert. The ad set is, as we remember, who you want to show it to. So this is the audiences, and not only who you want to show it to, but also how much you want to spend to show it to them. And then the ad level is where you set your creative. So this is where you set your images. This is where you set your videos and the words that you're using on your adverts. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to come up here to campaigns. We're going to click on this green create button. I'm just going to make my page a little bigger. And you'll see now the first thing we have to do at campaign level is choose our objective. So you'll see there's several different objectives. What I'm going to do, I'm going to talk you through all of these objectives and what they mean and roughly how you should be using them. However, as I said, I am not a Facebook agency. This is not something that I do full-time every single day. I'm just giving you the sort of warts and all of what I've learned using the platform and what I'm going through with clients that I'm working with as well. So by all means, please go and refer to the higher source of power being Facebook's help section, which is probably going to have the best and most relevant information, or use your common sense and go and do a little bit more research, or reach out to me and ask the question. But as I always say, all marketing is a test. So let me just pull up a document and walk you through all of these different types of objectives. All right, so let me talk you through these different objectives. The reason I wanted to do it here on a document was just to break it down into a bit more simple sort of form for you so you can understand each of them. And also you can screenshot this and sort of keep it for your own reference for later as well. Starting off with brand awareness and reach. Now these two are generally something that I would use if it was a new brand. So again, coming back to this kind of yoga studio example, if nobody knew who I was, nobody had any idea about my branding or my studio, I would be better to use these for content. So if you write a lot of blogs, articles, you release a lot of really high value content to your audience, and you want to make sure that people see that content, I would recommend using brand awareness and reach. Now, brand awareness works well for any audience size. Reach seems to work extremely well for audiences of less than 5,000, which is really, really useful if you are in a regional area or if your market is quite specific and niche. Now, a lot of people say, Kirby, my client isn't on Facebook. So you might have a great business over on LinkedIn with lots and lots of business people that you work with and high-level people and lawyers and surgeons and all that sort of stuff. However, they're probably still on Facebook, but they're not on Facebook to make a purchase. I mean, no one's really on Facebook to shop. It just happens that we divert their attention. And so what might work well for you would be to use a reach campaign with content that is highly valuable to that audience you might have elsewhere, and using the custom audience tool to show it to those people. So that's how that's how I would recommend you use brand awareness and reach campaigns. Now, engagement is one of my faves. I really, really like using this for videos exactly like this one. The reason is it's great for building social proof on a post. So lots of likes, comments, shares, that sort of thing. And then what you can do is create a custom audience and retarget people who engaged with the post. So I love engagement ads. I actually recommend for all of my clients who I teach marketing to that they use engagement ads to build their audiences, because it seems to be very inexpensive still comparative to other advert types. App installs, well, yeah, I mean, that's pretty simple. If you've got an app that you want to sell, use app installs. Pretty simple. And that would direct people to iTunes or wherever you've got your app based. Now, video views, I prefer engagement for videos, like the engagement campaign type. But video views is obviously great for videos. I just find that right now all my testing is showing, and the testing of my clients is showing, that engagement is cheaper than video views objective. I don't know why that is. I don't even want to guess, but up to you which one you want to choose. Lead generation, I've been testing this a lot. In fact, I've actually got a campaign running right now using a lead generation objective. The reason is it doesn't require you to build out, it doesn't require you to build out, that was some sort of weird noise from my throat, in case you're wondering what that was. Back to the topic. It doesn't require you to build out anything in the background. The lead form is built within Facebook. So you don't have to have a landing page or a website, which in my case, if I was building this makeshift yoga studio, this make-believe yoga studio, I would use a lead generation advert because it doesn't require me to build out anything. So this is really good if you want to test a new idea, if you want to test a new product or service, and you don't want to have to build out sort of big sales pages and videos and all this sort of stuff. You literally have a form inside Facebook, so people would see the advert, click the advert, and then a form opens up. And the best part of it, and this is the thing that I love, is that it auto-fills the form with the information that the client uses to log into Facebook, including, phone numbers, email addresses, and so on. So it's really, really easy for people to fill it out, and therefore the conversion is really quite high. I do find that lead forms tend to be a little bit more expensive, but again, of course, that's probably subjective based on product or service that you sell. The lower the cost of your product or service, the more likelihood of getting a really cheap lead. To give you an example, I ran a lead campaign about 12 months ago, and when I was getting leads for about $1. Right now, the campaign that I'm running, which is only a couple of days old, so has not been optimized at all, I'm getting leads for about $23. However, that is for a multiple thousands of dollars conversion at the back end. So I'm not terribly concerned about spending $23 for that opportunity. Messages is pretty good if you want to get inside their inbox. I don't love the messages objective, but it certainly has its place. It's just not something that I've used a lot. And again, I'm just purely giving you this training off my own research and experience. And conversions. Now, conversions is my ultimate favorite. However, there's a couple of caveats to this. This is really good. Conversions is basically what you would run when you want Facebook to show your advert to people who are likely to end up where you want them to end up in your process. For example, if you have a sales funnel, which is basically a mini website, where you want to take someone to a page where you're going to offer them something like a webinar is a classic example. And when they fill in their details, it then takes them to a thank you page. What you'd be saying is, hey, Facebook, I want to get more people to that thank you page, which therefore means you've got more leads. Now, that's great, but for this to work well, it requires that you can get more than 50 conversions per week. So here's the caveat and the disclaimer. Do not use conversions until you have an offer that is proven in the marketplace, or you will burn serious dollars. And I've made this mistake myself where I was like, this offer will work, it'll be fine. And I'd literally burnt thousands of dollars on a campaign. Just because I was stupid and I didn't do much testing on it first, and it really burnt me. So they're really the main campaign types, objectives. There are a couple more with bricks and mortar style thing. So, if you want to reach people in a certain geographic area around your store, for example, if you have multiple stores like pizza stores or whatever, then of course you could use the store visits objective. So hopefully that helps. I'm going to jump back across to Facebook now, and we're going to start building out this fake yoga studio campaign for you. Now we're back inside the Facebook window. Do some clever creative switching between screens. And we're going to build out this campaign now for the makeshift yoga Studio. So you can see here, I'm going to choose an objective. Now, as I said, in the case of a yoga studio, I could literally just use lead generation. So let's do that. Now, I just want to add here, I'm assuming that you have something to sell at this stage. If you don't, then you need to create an offer, because I don't want this to sound too crass, but a good offer is going to be what makes your ad work. So I was going to say something worse there, but I held my tongue. So basically you have to have a good offer, because a bad offer will still be a bad offer even if you spend $1 million on ads. It's not going to convert, and you're going to waste money. And then you're going to say Facebook ads don't work. And it's not that Facebook ads don't work. I think they're very powerful, but if your offer sucks, it sucks. And that's just the reality of it. So please make sure that you think through and research your offer that you're making to the market, or the content that you're putting forward, to make sure that it's going to be relevant to the people you want to see it. All right. Now, for the purpose of this, let me just use, actually, let me do engagement, because it'll give you a bit more clarity on the ad process. So with engagement, come down. You can see there's different sort of optimization here. So you can optimize for post engagement. You can optimize for people to like your page, or you can optimize for people to respond to one of your events. I would just leave it at post engagement. Page likes are a bit of a vanity metric. I wouldn't worry too much about that. Now, the campaign name, obviously this is the sort of high level name of your campaign. So for this one, I'm going to put Yoga Studio Example, just so I remember it later. Now, just ignore this stuff for now. However, this budget optimization thing is going to become a real thing in September 2019, and it's going to apply to all campaigns that are running. What it basically means is, if you are going to spend $100 on your campaign, you would tell Facebook at the campaign level how much you're going to spend, and then Facebook would split the money between audiences at the ad set level to basically best use your $100. That's the easiest way to say it. Right now, you don't need to worry about it. So once we click that, that is literally the whole campaign side of things done, because we've set the objective and we've named it. That's it. That's not too terrible, is it? So the next level we're at is at the ad set level. Okay. So remembering that the ad set level is where we tell Facebook who we want to show it to and how much we want to spend to put it in front of them. I would recommend, and again, this is only based on my own testing and that of my clients, that you spend a minimum of $20 per day when you start your campaigns. Back in the day, I sound so old when I say that. Back in the day, you could spend like $2 to $5 per day and still see results. But now there's so many advertisers on the platform, it's getting more and more competitive, and therefore your ad costs are going to be increasing. So you need to make sure you're in the game. And $20 seems to get you a decent amount of data. And at the end of the day, what you're doing in the first few days with any campaign is you're testing. So don't expect to see results right out of the gate. If you get them, fantastic. But if you don't get results right out of the gate, then it doesn't mean your campaign's not working. It might just be that you need to add a bit more budget. You might need to refine your offer. You might need to refine your audience placements. So just bear that in mind as you are going through this exercise. I would recommend starting with $20 per day. I'm going to talk to you about that in a moment. So let me just keep getting through this. Now, the ad set name. I always name the ad set the audience that I'm going to have as the ad set. All right. So remember I said before I split the ad sets. So you remember I created two audiences. The first audience was yoga interests. And the second one was yoga brands like Lululemon and Lorna Jane. So this first ad set is going to be yoga interests. And I'm going to use the saved audience. So remember we did this earlier. So there it is there, yoga interest. You can see there, it's pulled in the audience, Brisbane, 18 to 45. And then down here, the next step is placements. Now, let me just go back a step, actually. If you hadn't gone and created your audiences already, it would have create new, and that's where you'd go and just build out that audience there. And then you can save the audience just here, okay? So up to you how you want to do it. I prefer, and I would recommend, go build it out first in the background, because if you come in here, you're going to get all overwhelmed and you're going to mess something up. So take your time and do it right. Do the research first. You know, there's a rule, the 80-20 rule. I'm sure you've heard of it, which says that 80% of your success, I forget what it says, but basically the 80-20 rule indicates to me that you should do your work beforehand. 80% of success comes from 20% of the work. Is that it? Anyway, You get where I'm going with that. So this is where you would add in all of your targeting and stuff. But right now I'm just going to use the saved audience because it is already saved in the background. There we go. And you'll see now it's given me potential reach of 500,000. Now this little Duva Malaki up here, where my mouse is, the colored thing. What is that, an arc? Yeah, this colored arc. Don't stress too much about that. It's a bit buggy. So I'm not ever too worried about that. What I'm worried about is the size here. All right. So you want to make sure this size is the thing you're looking at. And remember, we want to roughly go with, where we can, of course, somewhere between 500,000 and 7 million for a cold audience. Now, of course, you might get nowhere near 7 million people, but if you were targeting someone like Tony Robbins, you get there pretty quick. So just bear that in mind. Now, this placement section. Now, there's a lot to be said about this. There's lots of arguments about it, depending on who you speak to. I'm just going to recommend, because this is a video to get you in the game, leave it as automatic, because Facebook is pretty bloody good at optimizing this stuff. So I would just leave it as automatic placements, which means it's going to put it on Instagram, Facebook, in the Facebook Messenger feed, in the video feed, in the third-party feed. So it's basically going to be everywhere. And I'm not going to complicate this anymore by saying go and edit the placements. You can if you want. You can remove certain things. But I'm just going to say leave it automatic and test it and see what happens. And if it doesn't work, go and change it. All right? Don't worry about any of this stuff. The only thing I wanted to worry about here when you're starting out is your budget. And like I said, I'd be setting that at $20 per day. Now, you see what happened there. If I just change that back to $11, which was the minimum, it's got post engagement and reach, but the post engagement is the thing that I'm most interested in, 55 to 350. Now watch what happens when I change that to $20. Now I get 100 to 630. So that's double the amount of engagement that we're expecting on the post. And yes, I know it's logical because that's almost double the amount of money. But it makes a big difference in your initial testing in the first couple of days. And you're better off to test fast and make sure it's working rather than test slowly with a lower budget for a week and waste a week and have everyone get sick of seeing your ads. Test them fast over 2 or 3 days and then get in the game faster, okay? Now, under this budget, you'll see the schedulers here. So you can set the budget, set the schedule to run continuously. So this means it'll just keep on going forever until you press stop. Or you can set a start and end date. If you run events or if you're running a specific promotion that you want to start and end at a certain date, you would change the date in here, okay? Now, just be careful of something here. I've been caught out on this once where I was rushing through this. It adds 1 month by default. So even if you came in here and you said, I want to start on the 15th of March and finished on the 22nd, and you just tick it, but that's actually the 22nd of April. So you just need to make sure you come back a month, just a little inside rule there. And it will tell you how long your ad's going to run for. So if I go here and I go to the 22nd, you'll see here it says your ad's going to run for a week. You'll spend $139.17. And that includes your GST if you're in Australia, if you are GST registered, of course. So that's basically what you need to do there. That's it, okay? Now, if we continue on, it's going to take us. So that's the ad set level, by the way, done. So we've told it who, and we've told it how much and when. Now we're going to go to the advert itself, all right? So what this is essentially, how do you want it to look in the newsfeed? How do you want people to see your advert, all right? So the ad name at the top, again, it's important that we name it. So when I'm naming the advert itself, I normally name it based on the creative that I'm using. So if the campaign is called Yoga Studio example, the ad set, this particular ad set is called Yoga Interests, then the advert, the first advert in this ad set, because the ad set can contain more than one advert, the first advert I'm going to call image advert. And then if you knew what image it was, you know, I might say woman doing yoga, right? So that might be the image that I'm using in the advert. Obviously, that's very, very basic example, but that just allows you at reporting time to know which one's working, which one's not. So if I was doing another advert with a video instead of an image, I would write video advert, women doing yoga. If I was doing a slideshow, I'd write slideshow, women doing yoga. It's just an easy way to check or to track which ad is performing, and also easy for you when you want to come back to edit that you know which one you need to do, okay? So that's essentially how I do it. And then with the creative, you would either select an existing post. So this works really well if you have posted content organically on your Facebook page. That works really, really well. So you might have posted a video or something that's gone like sort of semi-viral or viral, and lots of people have commented, liked it, all that sort of stuff. Then you could select that existing post and use that as your advert if you know that it works, and just push it out to a bigger audience. If you want to create a new ad, then of course you click this little plus sign here and it says create new page post. Now, important to note, this does not go onto your page, even though it says create new page post. It's what they would refer to as a dark post. So it means that it creates a new post ID, but it's not on your Facebook page. All right. So click that. In this case, I'm going to click that. And then literally you just write your post as you would normally on a status update. You'd add your photo, video, et cetera, et cetera. You do everything you normally do to create a post. And that is literally it for an engagement ad. So it's literally like posting on Facebook. So it works really well. So let me just create one. I'll just mock one up. Now, also, in terms of mock-ups, I always use Canva. So it's free, and you can create social media images really easily. So you just type in social media, and you'll see social media, and it creates it. So I don't know if you used Canva before, but I like it. You can also use Photoshop if you're into all that fancy stuff. And literally, you could just, if I type in yoga, I'm literally just winging this for the purpose of this. There you go, bang. There you go, people on the beach doing yoga, and then you'd download that. Again, this is sponsored by the excellence of Australian internet speed. So you add that photo into here, and then you write your post. So, hi yoga lovers, etc., 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 etc. All right, and then down here, this little drop down, you can change this little call to action if you want, and then you save it. That's pretty much it. So, they call it an unpublished post now. I call it a dark post because you can't see it. That's it. So you just create your little post there. That's an engagement ad. It's very, very simple. And when you've done that, the Facebook preview will come up here. And then you come down here, and most important, click your Facebook pixel here and switch it on. Make sure that this pixel is active because you want to be able to track people who are interacting with the pixel, okay, with the post, so, and retarget them. And then you press confirm, and that is the whole advert done. That's an engagement ad, okay? So let me go back. I'm going to change the objective and show you a different objective. I will show you lead generation. So let's just assume you don't want to build websites or landing pages or get all fancy. You just want to literally get in the game with an offer, generate leads for your business, your coaching business, your health coaching, whatever it might be, your gym. Campaign name. So again, yoga leads for new class. All right. Continue. Same deal. All right. So ad set name, same deal. So we're going to create the ad set is going to be yoga interests. Because remember, this is for the audience that is yoga interests. So if I come here, use the saved audience, yoga interests. Now, once you've done this, by the way, I'll show you in a moment, you can just duplicate this ad set and then just come back in and edit the interests. So you don't have to go through and create them all twice. You just create it once, come back, and then change this saved audience over to yoga associated clothing. And that way you've got the same ads running to two different audiences. Again, leave it as automatic. Again, $20 budget. So everything there is exactly the same. We click continue, which will take us through to the ad set name, the ad name, sorry. So the ad name, remember here, is going to be image. Oops. It's going to be, come on, image, free trial. Okay. Obviously, make sure you've selected the right page and Instagram page here, like so. And then here's your options. So you see the format here. You can do a single image or a video or a carousel, which is where you got the images scrolling across the screen, which can be quite useful if you've got multiple benefits on your product. Use a different image for each benefit and put them in a carousel. Works really, really well. And then here you see you can add the image or you can add a video. So if I was going to add the image here, I'll just go into here, click that, and you'll see that that will add in. I'm going to delete that one. There you go. So there's the ad essentially. Now, see this little bit here where it says customize for certain placements. Without me getting too deep here, you can use different images for different placements. So for example, Instagram stories, which is like the long vertical, I think that's what they call it. Yeah, vertical portrait. That's the word. It's got it written right there. You can go into Canva and you could resize that image, the exact same image, to be that size there, so that when it displays on an Instagram story, it takes up the whole screen instead of just a little square in the center of the screen. So if you just want your ads to look a bit cleaner and a bit more professional, that's a little pro tip there. Just go in and create a custom size image for each of those placements and you will look tickety-boo. All right. You can use free stock images instead of creating your images. Up to you what you want to do there. And that's pretty much that, right? So now you'll see that is the start point of the advert. So assume this said, you know, Kirby's Yoga Studio. That's the image. And again, I know that's a very direct offer there for a 1 month free trial because I just grabbed it off there. Now, each of these boxes will change the preview you get on the right-hand side. So what you want to do is you want to make sure that your headline is really, really strong. Now, the headline is actually the text because that's the bit that comes up above it. So, for example, here I would say, 30 days of yoga, 0 cost. That's a lot of green juices. Dear. Anyway, I'm just making that up, of course. So there's many, many ways to write a Facebook headline. Actually, let me give you a couple. You've got the very simple one, how to X without Y. Okay. So let me give you the example. How to get 30 days of free yoga without compromising on class size. I got no idea, but I'm assuming that that would be important for people, that they'd want to have a class that was nice sized. That's number one. You could say how to X even if Y, where X is the thing they want, the benefit, and Y is the thing they don't want. So let me give you a classic example. How to create winning Facebook ads even if you've wasted thousands with no results. I mean, I know these are really basic, actually pretty terrible examples, but it'll give you a bit of a clue. If you X, then you should Y. If you want to run great Facebook ads, then you should watch this video. If you want to get 30 days of free yoga, then you should take advantage of this free trial before it runs out. If you can see where I'm going with that. There's just 3 really basic examples for you. Now, so that's the text that comes up above the image here. So I'm just going to leave in that top one just for the purpose of this example. The display link is what people see down here. Okay, so just to show you, example.com. Now, the important thing is, so you see there, just came up down there, this has to be the same destination. Okay, so if you are sending people to example.com/yoga and then you type in example.com, Facebook will not allow that. Okay, so you can use a bit.ly link here, so bit.ly, so it's, or any link shortener, as long as the destination is the same, because Facebook are all about the client journey. Now, the headline is the bit that comes in here below the image, which is kind of backwards, isn't it? You'd think they'd reverse and call the text the headline and the headline the text. But anyway, claim your free trial now. And you'll see that will change and it will come in right there. See? Now, newsfeed link description, I never really worry about that. Now, the call to action, do whatever you like here, of course, but learn more seems to work well for some reason. I do not know why. Testing just seems to work more. I don't know if it just creates curiosity or something. But of course, there's lots of different options there you can choose from, apply now, book now, download, get offer, etc., etc., etc. And again, same thing. Make sure your Facebook pixel's on. Now, when we come down, it's going to say create a new form. Now, you're going to have to accept their terms when you do this, but you'll see what it does. It basically opens up directly inside of Facebook. So this is what they would see. Okay, so you'd obviously go here and you would go through each of these options. I'm not going to bore you to death with it all, but the intro, you can add the headline, and you can see it changing over here. So it's yoga with a slightly balding pommy bloke. There you go. And you can choose to use a custom image, which is the image that shows up inside the form when they open it. Bear in mind, this is within Facebook still. If you leave it as the image from your ad, it will be exactly the same image as your ad. Now, that works quite well in the context that it creates a very congruent experience for the client. So it's often worth just leaving it the same, but up to you if you want to make it look more spiffy. And then this paragraph here, you can see you can choose between bullets and paragraph. So if it's something very simple, bullet points with benefits. So, you know, you'd say benefit 1, benefit 2, etc., etc. Now, there's a million ways to write bullet points as well, but I clearly don't have time to do it on this training because this has gone long already. So you'd put your benefits in. This bit here, your questions. Now, a little tip for you here, okay? See right now where it's got email, but then full name's underneath it, which is actually quite annoying. What you do, if you untick these like so, and then you tick full name first, and then you tick email, oh, look at that. It switches them around. And then if you click show more options, you can also add in phone numbers, street addresses, and so on and so forth. So I would recommend, obviously, less information equals more conversion. So only take the amount of information you need to take them to the next step. Remember, you're not selling them on this first step necessarily. This is about moving them to a conversation or moving them to that step that you want to take them to. Okay. So at most, I would recommend get name, email, phone number, and then you can always follow up by phone if required. You can also add custom questions too. So for example, if you wanted to sort of say, hey, what's like, if this is for my imaginary yoga studio, what do you hope to get out of your yoga practice? Right. And then that way, it just allows me to refine further. So if you've ever read Ask Method by Ryan Levesque, where he talks about putting people into a bucket based on their answers, then of course that's where this applies. And then your privacy policy, you have to have a privacy policy. So you would just link this to your website. If you don't have one, just go and create a blog post or something on your website, or get a Wix.com free site, or go to about.me and grab a free page, whatever it might be, and just go to Google, type in privacy policy template, change it to be relevant to you. And of course, by all means, if it is necessary, go and get legal advice around this. I'm not telling you to go and just post any old template. I'm just saying, to get you in the game, go and Google a template if you haven't got one, and then get it updated by a lawyer. And then put your link URL in. And that's just for Facebook terms, because you have to accept their privacy terms. The link text would say, view our privacy policy. Link URL would be http whatever, privacy.com, whatever. And then that is the lead form, right? Now, the thank you screen is what happens after they submit the form. So when they submit the form, it takes them to a thing saying, hey, thanks, blah, 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 blah. And then you can send them somewhere. Okay. So that works really well if you want to send them to your page on Facebook. So you can say, hey, I'm going to send you to my View Facebook page, and then you can take them to your Facebook page so that they like the page. You could also have them download something. So if you want to give people some great information or a lead magnet, you can use that to deliver the download. Okay. So all of that is basically really simple, just set and forget sort of stuff. When you're finished, you come up here and you click, as it happens, finish. So that's really simple. And then your form will save. So I'm just going to save. I can't save that one because I haven't done something here. Let me just that. Finish. Come on. view website. We'll just take them to, I'm just going to quickly fill this out. Facebook page. There you go. Save that. All right, so there's the form there. And then that's the one we're going to use. So we're going to click on that. And then, yeah, right up. That's just warning me because that image has lots of text. That wouldn't really work so well. But anyway, make sure your images have a maximum of 20% text. If you believe that it is compliant, then you just tick this request manual review box, and then Facebook will have a look at it for you. And then you would click confirm, and that is literally your whole lead campaign setup. All right. So that being the case, now that I stop the share, I'm going to stop the share. I'm going to switch on my video. Hey, it is me, the illustrious Kirby. I don't know how long I've been teaching you now, like maybe like an hour or so. I hope it's been useful for you. When you have launched your campaign, let it run for sort of 2 to 3 days before you freak out, because it's going to take time for Facebook to go and find the people and put it in front of them and give them frequency of adverts so they get a chance to click. So don't freak out. Now, if it's not working, here's a couple of things to bear in mind. If you are getting no traffic to the advert, so if you go into Ads Manager and there's like no one even seeing the ad and it's not spending your money, you can either duplicate the ad and then switch off the old one just to see if that resets the algorithm, or you can go and bump more budget in, or go and check your interest targeting, because it's going to be one of those things. It's going to be that Facebook's got a little bug, or it's going to be that you haven't put enough money on for the audience you want, or your audience might be too broad or too specific or whatever. So just go and check those things to start with. If you're getting clicks on your advert, or if you're getting eyeballs on your advert, and your money is racking up on your ad spend, but you're not getting clicks to where you want them to go, you're not getting leads, you're not getting website visits, whatever it might be, then it probably means your offer sucks. So go back and have a look at the wording. Look at the language, make sure it's the kind of language that your clients would use. So for example, if I was doing a Facebook training like this, I'm not going to say, let me show you how the algorithm works. I would say, let me show you the secret rule book Facebook used to select which ads to show. It's different language, and one of them is more congruent with your audience. If you are getting the clicks to your website, but people aren't converting, go and look at your offer and make sure it's kind of what you've promised them on Facebook, because the experience needs to kind of continue. It needs to be progressive for them. If they are opting in for the thing that you've offered, but they're not taking your phone calls, or they're not buying the thing that you're offering, show them it a different way. So for example, if you're sending someone an ebook, but then you want to get them on a strategy call, they might not have time to read the ebook. So record a video with a 7-minute summary of what you discussed in the ebook and send that to them again. So that's just some ways that you can troubleshoot your ads if they're not working the way you expect them to. I'm not going to go any deeper than that, other than to say this. If your ad is working, what you want to do is scale the ad. There's 2 ways to scale the ad. The first way to scale the ad is to put more money on each ad set. All right. So instead of being $20, you'd make it 25, 30, so on, until you scale it up, until you start to see it dropping out. There is a point of diminishing returns, which I'm not going to get into in this video because there's a bit of a formula behind it. But my primary advice would be, don't scale up more than 50% of your ad spend per day, because it'll just break it. It'll break the optimization at the back end. So if you're spending like $20, don't put it up to more than $30, and so on. So just be a little bit careful with that. Obviously, if you don't want to spend more money necessarily, if you want to just keep your ad spend exactly the same, or if you find that you're capping out a bit and you're like, this is not working when we put more money on, keep it at $20, but duplicate the ad set and choose a new audience. So instead of going vertical with spend, go horizontal with people, because there's plenty of people on the planet you can target, okay? So it might be that you create new lookalike audiences. It might be that you create new custom audiences that get a bit more specific, and that's allowing you to see a new audience, and you're going out horizontal to new markets with the same ad spend. All right. That's just another way to do it. Rather than scaling up one ad, spend the same money that you would scale up, going sideways to more people. That is pretty much it. I hope it's been really helpful for you, this training. As I said at the start, like, I was just overseeing people spend like tons of money and not getting results. So I thought I'd just throw this together for you. If you've got any questions, bang them below the video. Yeah, that's it. Have an awesome day. Thanks for watching. See you guys.